This is the story of the slow and inevitable extermination of the Awa, a small Amazonian tribe. Surrounded by those who want their forests, the tribe faces a threat that grows by the day. The wood industry supplies a global market. Illegally cut timber that all too often ends up on the floor or the terracing of houses in the West. We cannot live without the forest. Where would we live without the forest? I want to live here. The forest is ours. Leave it alone, it's so beautiful. The Awa are among the last nomadic hunter-gatherers in the world. There's not much left of their ancestral forests, and without it, they won't survive. I'm convinced that if we do not protect the Awas, they will be exterminated. This will be a terrible genocide for which humanity will never forgive itself.
They are in a very difficult place because they are nomadic in an area that's been very, with a lot of demographic pressure, logging pressure. The one way they can survive is really get public attention.
The Awa are in the way of the multinational timber companies. The financial stakes are enormous. Illegal logging in the world is estimated to be worth $15 billion a year. Say no. No to the agribusiness, no to the timber trade. Don't rent out your lands. The only thing that matters is that you defend yourselves. Their forests so distant, yet so much part of Europe. France, for example, is the largest importer of Brazilian tropical wood. Well, it's perfect. This is Ipe from Brazil. It's an absolutely wonderful wood. To survive, the Awa have chosen to fight back and confront the thousands of invaders who have come to plunder their riches. We aren't the ones who kill white people. It's the wood merchants that are killing us.
Many Awa remain uncontacted. They are the most threatened tribe in the world. When the loggers see them, they kill them. Here's the plan. One man can stop this. Brazil's Minister of Justice.
It's you. If you're trying to spot the Awa in the forest, then look up. Up, there in the trees. Often children, aged just 6, 7 or 8 years old. Harvesting, as much as hunting, is their basic education. They're one of the last tribes of hunter-gatherers in the world. That's a howler monkey, but I won't kill it. The women don't eat them. Only the men do. The first time I met them, I fell in love with them right away. They're so accessible, they're so happy, very welcoming, and I immediately felt very strongly about them. What impressed me was their kindness. An almost childlike gentleness. They seem to laugh all the time. They have no concept of the danger that threatens them. This is the picky flower.
Picky.
It's a flower that deers like to eat. You can see the deer tracks there. It's been here. Oh, there's a bird over there. Let's go take a look. The Awas live in the north of Brazil in the state of Maranhão. They number just 350 in 4 different locations. 100 live in a forest area with no contact with the outside world, at least for now. Their current lifestyle resembles ours a few thousand years ago.
And the forest is everything to them. It's like their hospital, their church, their supermarket. They get everything they need to be awa and to survive from the forest.
They're one of the world's most threatened tribes, and while some hunt with rifles and wear t-shirts made in China, the Awa are determined to stay in their forests. His name is Irakatoa. He's the oldest member of the tribe. In fact, his age, like for all the Awas, is a mystery. They don't count the years. Leave our trees alone. It's in the forest that we find our food. It's where we hunt for turtles, for tapirs, howler monkeys. I don't want to see my forest destroyed. I don't want to witness its destruction. It's ours. The loggers are closing in on the tribe day by day. Right now, they're just 3 kilometers away.
Typically, log industry, you get about people, the employees about 50, 60 people, both in the extraction and the processing, to generate a profitability of about $1 million a year. You can back actually to see even a small company look a very kind of old-fashioned. It's economically very profitable.
That's a good way to become rich.
Yeah, in a region that a lot of people is poor.
This is an illegal road built by the lumber industry to smuggle out tree trunks. A local man who knows the way the madereiros, the loggers, work, drops in for a chat. Here it's wise to be careful when filming clandestine sawmills. Look over there. It's a mill. The loggers, we're told, are often armed, and what they can't stand is people bothering them. Why do they put all these boards in front? Well, it's to stop people seeing what they're up to and all the wood that they're cutting. Tree trunks cut down just a few hours earlier and deposited by trucks line the footpath that marks our territory. What are they doing? Are they stopping? No. There's a sawmill down there as well. What they're doing is burning the sawdust so that there are no traces left. Hide all traces of the crime, of course. And even the Ibama, the forest rangers, are no strangers here. They seem to know each other well, maybe too well. It's the same old story. When the Ibama show up, the loggers seem to be expecting them. They have someone on the inside that warns them. The timber industry has advanced rapidly, literally. In less than 25 years, nearly 30% of the Awa territory has disappeared. And yet, on paper at least, their territory is officially protected by the Brazilian Constitution.
This is our territory, the boundaries. You see how they move both from north, from the south, and west. This has been one of the most, let's say, 5 top critical areas in the entire Brazilian Amazon. In this particular area, it's a combination of some open, more dry forests with high, dense, humid forests. When you have these two combinations of two different types of forests, you have a lot of biodiversity, and that's why this particular area is so important. Logging is the first step to clear cut the area, so people start to harvest timber and then burn the forest. What's left is burned.
The solution is radical. The Awa forest is sometimes literally burned. It's often the soybean farmers who start the fires. Within days, a field is cleared, and fast-growing seeds can then be planted. According to a report by the World Bank, illegal logging is worth $15 billion a year and is often connected to organized crime. To plunder the Awa's forest, the loggers and farmers have never hesitated to use force. In 2012, more than 1,200 members of indigenous tribes in Brazil were victims of physical attacks, sexual assault or attempted murder. And to this staggering figure must be added the 60 Indians who were murdered last year, often by hired killers, the so-called pistoleros. For more than 30 years, the Awas have been systematically hunted down and sometimes killed in the forest by the loggers. It's something Irakatoa will never forgive. The lumberjacks are just behind the forest. They often come in from behind. Once the loggers came and they hung metal wires everywhere, and we were locked in. We were surrounded all night. The loggers killed some Awas, and once they even shot my father in his buttocks. Many of us have caught the white man's flu. Many have died. I remember some of their names. They were called Mansakua, Marima, Machichini. They're all dead now. For over 8 years, Carlos Madeira, the Maranhão state federal judge, investigated the crimes and violence against the Awa tribe. What we found out was that the loggers sneak into the forest with fireworks and rockets and set them off. The noise is such that it scares off the game, the wildlife, and the Indians themselves are terrified. They flee too, and it's at this point that loggers advance into the forest to cut trees on Awa territory.
Tem toda uma conjugação de situações como esta.
E conversando com os indígenas nas aldeias.
In talking with the Indians, I heard stories about how entire families died after eating flour that had been deliberately poisoned.
Farinha envenenada, né? E que depois os seus membros vieram a falecer.
They also spoke of being hunted like animals, pursued by people who were shooting at them and being chased by dogs.
Atirando, com cachorro atrás, atirando.
Rosanna knows the fight against the timber industry might cost her dearly. Between 1971 and 2002, 1,280 activists, lawyers, farmers, labor and religious leaders were assassinated because they opposed deforestation. Among the victims was Chico Mendes, a trade unionist who fought to preserve biodiversity. Mendes was shot twice in the head in December 1988. Hundreds of others have been eliminated. Sister Dorothy in 2005, who was also trying to defend the people of Amazonia, and more recently Zé Claudio, an activist who lived in the state of Pará. His body and that of his wife were found in a ditch in May 2011. His ear had been sliced off, evidence of a contract killing, the ear as proof the contract had been completed. The execution came as no surprise, not least to the victim himself. 6 months earlier, Zé Claudio had more or less predicted his own murder during a public meeting.
Obrigado. Vivo da floresta.
I live in the forest.
Protejo ela de todo
I will
jeito.
protect
Por
it
isso,
by any means,
eu sou
and now I live with a gun
vivo com
permanently
uma
to
bala
my
na
temple.
cabeça a qualquer hora. Porque eu vou para cima, eu denuncio.
By attacking the illegal trade in wood and coal, I realized that one day I might
E por
disappear.
isso eles acham que eu não posso existir. A mesma
What
coisa
they
que
did
fizeram
to
no Acre,
Chico Mendes and his
querem
sister
fazer
Dorothy,
comigo. A mesma coisa que fizeram com a
they wanted to
irmã
do
Dorothy,
to
querem
me.
fazer comigo. Eu posso estar hoje aqui conversando
Today
com
I'm
vocês,
speaking to
daqui
all of
um
you
mês,
here,
vocês
but
podem saber
in a
a
month,
notícia que eu
who knows?
desapareci.
I might not be
Me
around
perguntam,
anymore.
tem medo? Tenho.
Am I afraid?
Sou ser humano.
I am afraid. I'm human. I'm
Mas o meu
afraid.
medo não empata.
But fear won't ever make me shut up.
Enquanto eu tiver força para andar,
While I can walk,
eu estarei
I'll do
denunciando
all I can to
todos
fight those who
aqueles
threaten the forest.
que prejudica a floresta.
Zé Claudio's killers were found and arrested, but those who ordered the hit, and there are believed to be several, remain at liberty. The Mendes couple were targeted on this road near Maraba in the state of Pará, in northern Brazil. Their attackers were two men in a car, their faces hidden behind a tinted windscreen. A memorial stone was placed at the spot where the two bodies were found. Sir Claudio's brother and niece often go there to pray, but apparently a few days earlier, someone had opened fire on the memorial.
Não estamos nas intimidades. Muito verdade.
Eu fico muito revoltada.
I'm really
com isso,
disgusted.
que uma pedra dessa não está fazendo mal a ninguém.
The stone was there just as a symbol of where they killed my uncle and aunt.
Os meus tios.
A luta do meu irmão não só esse preço.
You can't put a price on the life of my brother
Preço nenhum em relação ao trabalho
or on the
dele,
struggle he
o
led.
trabalho dele.
His
Era-
work was
era
part of
nossa
our life,
vida, a vida da humanidade, que é
the
essa
life of
diversidade,
humanity that depends on
Yes,
natural
amado.
diversity. His fight
fragmentada,
was,
igual o Nico
is,
falou,
a matter of
e a
life
gente
and
tá vendo, a
death,
gente
our
confirma
life
isso.
and death.
Então tudo isso é uma questão de vida, é uma questão da nossa vida.
Without
Sem
the
essa
forest,
mata,
without
sem
this
essa diversidade,
diversity,
sem essas
without
flores,
these
igual
fruits,
castanha, cupu e outras diversas,
we could no longer live because
nós
there
jamais
would be no
teremos
air
vida,
left
porque nós
to
jamais
breathe.
respiramos esse ar.
The Brazilian authorities appear unconcerned by all the bloodletting that's taking place in the forests. By way of proof is the apparent impunity enjoyed by the timber industry, regularly caught with chainsaws in hand in the middle of native reservations. According to a Greenpeace report, the top 5 companies in the state of Pará only rarely pay the fines they receive in court. And the methods of the timber industry are well known. The wood is always cut by a poorly paid workforce inside the protected forests and then transported out at night in trucks. Then the traffickers forge documents alleging the wood was cut legally. Finally, it is routed to a port where it will be exported abroad or to another city in Brazil. In Belém, the authorities rarely stand up to the timber industry. The reason is simple. The logging companies finance the local politicians. One of the most powerful men in the state of Para is Guilherme Carvalho. He heads up the region's association of lumber exporters. Each year it exports tens of thousands of cubic meters of logs to the United States and to Europe. The wood industry lobby is low-key but powerful, and one not afraid of either the police or the law, whether or not their members are caught red-handed in the forests of the hour. Ibama has made many mistakes in the past. Ibama, the forest rangers, they're not perfect. Actually, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. The list of offences is piling up, however. But he insists they've got nothing to do with him or his association. Well, these things happen. It's not the first time either. It's not unusual that the person who sells us wood has tampered with the documents beforehand. It's common. So who should be punished? It's him, not us. What do you think of what's happening to the Awa tribe that's suffering from deforestation and illegal logging? I don't know them. Well, what are they called? Awa? Never heard of them. As a citizen, I feel the Brazilian state is being lethargic. If you ask me if I think existing legislation protects those in Brazil who wipe out the environment, I would say yes. I think Brazilian law protects those who destroy the environment, not the environment itself. The timber industry's apparent ability to do as they wish could end if this man says so. José Eduardo Cardoso has been Minister of Justice in Brazil since 2011. Right, what will you do to fight against this impunity enjoyed by the wood industry? We have huge forests, and environmental crimes might occur in very remote areas. But as soon as we can, we try to catch them in the act. But isn't this all a bit theoretical? I mean, many companies have already been caught red-handed by the forest rangers cutting down trees in indigenous territories, and nothing's done about it. How do you explain this failure of the Brazilian judicial or policing system? We have nevertheless managed to reduce illegal deforestation with the help of the Brazilian police, the Brazilian army, the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Justice. But again, there's still much work to do to prevent such situations from happening again. It's a tough speech, but it's just words. Clandestine sawmills located on Awa territory always seem to start up again within a week or two of Ibama controls. These mills may be working directly for well-known brands that then have little hesitation in promoting their tropical timber. One of the suppliers to the French Leroy Merlin Group is being prosecuted for illegal logging in Awa territory. Irakatoa has one of the French multinationals' advertising brochures. It's a meeting of two worlds. I recognize that tree. It's the paparauba.
And
this is Ipe. And that's Ipe as well. We live with these trees.
Eu conheci muito pabraúba. Essa aqui. Aqui é minha nó, aqui.
This one is used to make bows.
Meu arco. Esse aqui é bom arco.
Very good bows to hunt monkeys.
Esse aqui é nó.
This one is jatoba. This tree produces a flower that the monkeys eat.
Eu encontrar mato, comer essa aí, a fruta redobá é bom demais. Mas por mim
All this must be very expensive. The Awa may not yet be aware that Europe or the United States exist, and yet those are places where some of their forest often ends up. France is also a very good customer. It's the main European importer of Brazilian tropical wood. Activists have often tried to block container ships packed with maracanduba and ipe, the two most commonly traded woods from the Amazon rainforest. In March 2005, this boat carrying wood sold by the Rancho de Cabocla company arrived in Portugal. Rancho de Cabocla is one of the state of Para's largest exporters. But it's also a company with a long criminal record of fraud and forgery. Greenpeace activists blocked the entrance to the office of the importer. One of the company's cars narrowly missed running them over. Who authorized you to do this? Yeah, don't stay here. Get out of it. When not offloaded in Portugal, the Brazilian tropical wood often reaches the French port of Le Havre. Emmanuel Guillemet is a regular visitor to the docks. A well-known businessman from Normandy, the Guillemet family has been importing wood, 85% of it from Brazil, for 4 generations. Emmanuel Guillemet is one of the largest importers of Brazilian wood in France. The wood is sold on to large stores such as La Pereire and Pointe-Pie, before finishing up in people's homes or gardens. It's perfect. Looks good to me. This is Ipe from Brazil. It's 27155. So this is from a tree called Ipe. This is Ipe, yes. It's the most commonly sold today on the French market. This is an absolutely wonderful wood that's great for making the borders around swimming pools, or it's used in terraces. It's a fantastic wood because it doesn't rot, it doesn't warp, it's very resistant, and that's been used in some great projects, particularly in Paris. The first major project using Ipe was the Grande Bibliothèque de France, the largest library of France. And then there was a project that was very dear to me personally, as I provided almost 100% of the raw material, and that was the Solferino footbridge between the Musée d'Orsay and the Tuileries Garden that was made entirely from Brazilian Ipe. It's an absolutely magnificent achievement. The truth is, Mr. Guillemet is not popular amongst NGOs fighting deforestation, some of whom have turned their attention to his company's business activities, as on the Champs-Élysées in central Paris in 1994, when the so-called Robin Hood Association protested what they decried as the looting of forests and indigenous lands, as exemplified by the wooden benches made from Ipe wood. And a few years later at the Grande Bibliothèque de France, Greenpeace held another similar protest. In 2008, Greenpeace also attempted to stop a shipment of wood on its way to, among others, the Guillemet company. Timber exported by several Brazilian companies renowned for their forgery, such as Rancho de Cabocla. 6 years after Greenpeace's action, IBAMA documents prove Guillemet continues to purchase wood from companies regularly accused by Brazilian justice of falsifying documents. Monsieur Guillemet is nevertheless supposed to have a good knowledge of Brazilian law. He is, after all, also the Brazilian honorary consul in France. The entrepreneur is also a diplomat. His consulate and the headquarters of his business are at the same address. His consular office is the third door on the left inside his company's offices. For the diplomat, business never stops. I leave Saturday for Brazil, so I can get back to you early next week. But I don't have any in stock, and we're now 2 months from the start of the rainy season, so, well, anyway, I'll call you if you don't mind. But I think it can only reinforce perhaps the impression you already have. Okay, my friend? Isn't it a little tricky for you to be both the Brazilian consul and the importer of wood from businesses that are known by the Brazilian judicial system to regularly commit fraud? Well, listen, since you mentioned my role as consul, it's true. I am honorary consul of Brazil here for all of Normandy. I guarantee you, however, that my position as a representative of Brazil, a state where the rule of law applies, I am therefore doubly vigilant as regards imports and the documents I require for such work. Would it not be more vigilant to stop working with companies that are regularly convicted of faking documentation? I'm not aware of any recent convictions involving the Pampa or Rancho de Cabocla companies. Well, hang on, look just here, it's dated less than 3 months ago. Now, I haven't been in Brazil for 3 months. I'm going to Brazil next week, and I guarantee you that I will do a very personal and thorough investigation. And if I see that what has been claimed is true, I will then take the necessary action. And what does the consul/importer think of the indigenous tribes in all of this? My point of view? It might seem odd to allocate 10,000 hectares of forest for a population of just 300 Indians. It may be a bit disproportionate, but there are people who are attached to their traditions. And we have the obligation to remember this. When we arrived, the Indians were already there, so maybe, to have a clear conscience, we should establish these last reservations. They'll eventually disappear over the years. But isn't that serious? Listen, I think when you visit Indian reservations, and I've had the opportunity to see 1 or 2 in my lifetime, on each Indian house you have a satellite dish, you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle in front of the house. I think they're attracted to life in the big city, Western life, and they all dream, like we do, to have a house with a roof, a bathroom, a sofa, a television. It's quite normal. One of the major customers of the Normandy importer is a construction giant, one of the largest in the world, and the object of French national pride. Saint-Gobain, founded in 1683, publicly traded and present just about everywhere on the planet. A planet it claims to protect, but not one of its 1,333,000 employees agrees to be interviewed. The Leroy Merlin Company was, however, happy to oblige. The French firm includes amongst its suppliers a lumber company that has run riot among the Awa and is currently being taken to court by the Brazilian authorities.
C'est assez compliqué parce que nous avons à peu près 6000 références dans nos magasins.
This is quite complicated because we have nearly 6,000 different objects in our stores which contain wood. We have 50 direct suppliers, and they each have their own suppliers. We estimate we have about 250 indirect suppliers who work with us, and we must of course ensure that all the steps along the supply chain are legal.
Se fait dans le cadre de la loi.
You say that you need to check. Does that mean you haven't yet?
Si nous l'avions fait. No,
we have checked, but you're talking about an investigation that is still ongoing. There hasn't been a judgment yet against the supplier, so the supplier has officially not yet been implicated in any involvement in such traffic. The supplier still has the necessary legal paperwork, therefore, but if your inquiry confirms the charges, then this one case has slipped through our checking process. Shortly after the interview, the Leroy Merlin Group decided to stop selling the parquet flooring provided by the company suspected of inflicting serious damage to the Awa tribe. The multinationals have now also begun to interest themselves in the rich soil of the tribe's forests. In this region of Brazil in 1967, an American geologist discovered a treasure that would make international mining companies rich. Carajás, the largest open-cast iron mine in the world. In 1985, a 900-kilometer-long railway was specially constructed from São Luís to Carajás to extract the ore. The railroad cuts the Awa territory into two. The train, he brought us a lot of bad things. We do not like this train. It's only brought its venom. The train, as well as the iron mine it serves, is owned by the giant Vale Company, the largest producer of iron in the world. For the Indians, it's a nightmare. The passage of the train scared off the animals, their only means of subsistence. The Awa did try to stop the train. They did what they could to make themselves heard, but in vain. We do not get out to hunt. We can no longer hear the trampling of animals getting closer. As soon as the train arrives, I hear nothing. There is never silence anymore. There is noise all day and all night. The railway was funded by the World Bank and also by the European Community, as it was then known. It was a boon for the country in full economic expansion and a fantastic deal for the Europeans, who would be able to pay for huge amounts of ore, starting at $270 million a year.
It's a very big deal. I mean, millions and millions of dollars. One of the key conditions of the loan from the World Bank in the EU was the recognition of indigenous territories. These should all be mapped up, and demarcation, they should be recognised and protected. Both these institutions, in my view, are responsible for what is happening now.
The disturbance caused by the train in the forest has been going on for 25 years, and now it's not just to carry out ore, but also to bring immigrants in. In recent years, thousands of farmers, herders and settlers have flocked into what's meant to be a protected and prohibited area. Thousands of colonists have defied the law and settled on the native reservations themselves in absolute violation of the Constitution. As in the case of this village that doesn't exist on any map and is called Vitória da Conquista, meaning victory by conquest. The name says a lot about the spirit of these invaders. We live by agriculture. We cultivate cassava, maize, rice, beans and potatoes. Now that's how we survive. I've been here 13 years and I've never seen earth as good as this one.
Há mais de 23 anos eu moro aqui, eu nunca tinha encontrado uma terra melhor do que essa aqui.
Vocês aqui já
Have you ever seen any Awa out here?
Já aconteceu aqui de verem passar índios ao Aguajá aqui nos campos?
Aqui nunca vi. Aqui
Never.
Nunca vi. Ao Aguajá.
They don't exist, these Awa.
Passou, mas foi voando, porque por a terra.
If the Awa did come through this area, they must have flown or swung from branch to branch like monkeys.
Eles diz que eles andam trepado, que nem macaco. Mas como é que vão andar trepado?
While none of them will admit it on camera, it's known these small farmers from time to time give a helping hand to the loggers. Trucks belonging to the lumbermen from the nearest city are never far away. Look, loggers. Is that a logger's truck? Yes, they're the illegal lumberjacks. Illegal? Yes. And they come by every day? Yes, at all hours, day and night. Where from? They come from Zedoka, the city close by. Do you all agree then that the timber traffic is bad? Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree too. Look, we locals didn't create the timber traffic here. No, the Indians themselves created it, and then they complain about not being able to hunt. If we don't take action, there will not be a single tree trunk of any quality left. We don't sell the wood, it's them. If the Indians lived in a system like ours, working, negotiating with banks, as is normal, then we would see it's absurd to think about all the land they possess. For the people of Vitória da Conquista to be excluded from Brazil's booming economy this past 10 years is out of the question. It's now the world's third largest agricultural exporter and the world's largest producer of coffee, chickens, orange juice and beef. It's also virtually self-sufficient in energy through its oil, hydropower and its ethanol. Brazil has rapidly become the world's farm. And in all the economic statistics, the awa hardly counts at all. In 2010, they left their reservations and, for the first time in their lives, boarded buses rented for the occasion by an NGO. They went to the city of Zedoka, there where the lumberjacks are, to show that they really did exist, and state they would not abandon their forests, without which they could not survive. We are here to say that we do exist. We will not let you build on our land. I don't know what will become of us. Nobody knows. But this is our land. We want to stay there. For our children to grow and eat our fruits. We want to continue to live by hunting. We ask you to respect us as we respect you. We are the awa. During this gathering, Rosanna, an activist for 20 years, warned them against all the tempting offers made by the logging industry. This land does not belong to the government. This is your land, yours. You have the right to live there. Take care of it, share it with your children, value your culture, and stay happy. Our lifestyle only pollutes the water, destroys the forest, burns everything and sows death among indigenous peoples. Do not accept this in your villages. Say no. You must defend yourselves. Say no to agribusiness, no to the wood industry. Do not rent out your land. But do say yes to life. The most important thing is that you can meet your needs and those of your children. In Brazil, the #1 enemy of the indigenous cause are often agribusiness lobbyists who have close ties to many parliamentarians. And for good reason. The agricultural sector provides employment to nearly a third of all Brazilians and accounts for a quarter of GDP. No legislator here will go against the interests of soy, sugar, or cotton producers. In March 2011, representatives of the country's various tribes of the country forced their way into the parliament buildings in Brasilia in an attempt to be heard. For a moment, some parliamentarians panicked, fearing they'd die in a hail of war cries and arrows.
Agora mesmo está invadindo. A suspensa sessão. A suspensa sessão. Eu disse! Eu falava e vocês estão me ouvindo, senhor presidente! Encerra a sessão e acabou. Encerra a sessão! Não havendo condições. Não havendo condições.
You said in the chamber that you were afraid. Why?
Porque eles vinham com tacape.
Because they arrived with weapons, arrows, and all their gear.
Com algumas coisas que deles.
But it's still weapons. Those were weapons.
Não deixava de ser uma arma.
They might have hurt someone.
Que eles pudessem dar uma tacada na gente, fazer qualquer tipo de coisa. Nós podemos dizer que
It was hardly a democratic gesture on their part.
Democrático dos índios. Tem que tirar o índio.
It is time to get the Indian out of the misery in which he lives.
Ora, se você
Look at the rest of the world, in the United States, for example, or in French Guiana.
Aqui mesmo nas Guianas Francesas.
There you will find Indians of quality.
Eu quero ir.
Me, I want the Indian to be able to go to college while living as he wishes, but with a better quality of life.
Para o índio, sem que mexa com o meio ambiente dele.
I want to live like before, when everything was in abundance. Before the outside world reached us. That's my wish. I don't want to leave the forest. These trees are beautiful. And I don't want to see its destruction. There is a whole series of assumptions about the Indians, that they're lazy and possess too much land. And all these politicians are adding to them by saying that 300 Indians can't be allowed to stop 6,000 non-Indians from living.
When you force integration onto tribal peoples, all the evidence that we have shows that it simply doesn't work. You see all the indicators, both physically they're more exposed, say, to disease, to things like HIV/AIDS. Suicide rates go up. You only have to look at the Guarani tribe in Brazil or the Innu people in Canada. Where tribal peoples are thriving and doing well is when they are on their own land and they are determining their future. So the choice has to come from them.
For nearly 2 years, the British NGO Survival International has been putting pressure on the Brazilian government to expel all those who have invaded our territory. Actor Colin Firth is a spokesman for the campaign.
Many Awa remain uncontacted. They are the most threatened tribe in the world.
Across the United States, celebrities of all kinds have taken up the cause. In London and Paris and other European capitals, during the winter of 2012, a handful of determined activists demonstrated outside the embassies of Brazil. And in Brazil's forests, local journalists also decided to take an interest in the struggle of the Awas. For Survival International, only one man is able to save the Awa, and that's the Minister of Justice. He alone can order the expulsion of the inhabitants of Vitória da Conquista and the dismantling of clandestine sawmills.
We need enough people to message him so that he takes notice. You, me, our friends, our families, everyone counts.
He must think I'm David Copperfield. It's not that simple, you know. I can't just show up and throw out the settlers. Where do I put them? They'll starve. I could therefore create a social problem. So I try and follow a certain logical procedure. The international vision, you know, is a romantic vision. It says, throw these people out. But come and see the problem for yourselves. It's total romanticism. The minister knows every day counts. In a few years, if nothing is done, the hour will have vanished. Be aware the promises that follow are not the first of their kind on this issue, but this time they're recorded on camera. So is the situation serious? Yes, it is serious. Are we talking about illegal acts? Yes, we are. Why has the situation dragged on for so long? Because justice has been very slow. So today we will take steps to return the land to the Indians once the courts have taken their final decision. Does the Brazilian state have a duty to act? Yes, it does. And it will take action to return the land to the Indians. When? No later than December, January? Yes, in fact, in consultation with the judges, we have come up with an expulsion process. So this is what we are doing, and it will be done at the beginning of 2014. How much time do they have left exactly? At what point will progress, as some Brazilian lawmakers say, catch up with them? The hours don't talk in terms of years, but time is running out. I think we will feel we have lost the nation, regardless of whether they are 300, 400 or 500. Imagine if we exterminate a nation, any nation, the French, the Brazilians, no matter the size, it's the same feeling. Whether it's 300 or 3 million, the mathematical dimension doesn't matter. What's important is natural law, a fundamental law. What is important is the human duty to protect a helpless community.
Nó con chúng ta